All right, there we are. Welcome back to the Caribou Media Outdoors podcast. With me today is the one and only Joe Goubeaux. Say hello.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, Joe? How are you?
Good, man. Good. Like we were talking about before we jumped on, I just getting back into just getting back in general to everything. Getting back to
Yeah,
work, getting back to the
yeah,
gym.
yeah,
Excited to get back into the woods.
yeah. I was off for about a month from working out, and whenever I get into it hard, and I go full bore, and I don't stop, and then
Yeah.
I get to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm looking pretty good now. And then you go to like a holiday shows up and you're like, oh, I can eat that or I can have
Yeah.
this. And then it's just the wheels fall off. And then it's like, oh, maybe I'll skip today and make it a rest day. And then you're starting back from scratch, right?
Yeah.
That's like been my life, right? I love
Oh yeah,
working out.
everybody.
And when I get
Yeah.
into it, I'm into it hard. And if I don't, as long as I don't waver, I'm good.
Yeah.
But the
Yep.
smallest little thing and the tires blow out and
Yeah.
I'm back to square one again, right?
It no, it ebbs and flows for sure. I think for everybody it does.
Yeah.
Um, being able to navigate holidays and stuff like that is tough. It's
Yeah.
really tough. It's almost just like just don't overthink it. Go ahead and eat what you want as long as you can. Because what is it, a day or something? It's not
Yeah.
gonna,
It's not
or
gonna
even 2 days. Not gonna make or break you, but you can probably just if you go to the gym, even if you take the actual holiday off, but you go to the gym, the next morning or in the afternoon, like you're good to go.
yeah.
Because that momentum keeps going.
Mhm.
It carries
Yeah.
you through.
So what I've been asking people to start things off is take us back in time to when you first picked up a bow. What did that look like? And how did that
Yeah.
transition into bow hunting for you?
So for me, it's probably not as far back as a lot of people that you talk to. I think it was 2017.
Hmm.
So I always tell people I'm married into bow hunting. I wasn't raised on it. Nobody in my family hunted or anything. So I was always interested in archery. I can remember even as a kid I was interested, but there was no like means of access to the sport for me. Um, so my father-in-law, lifelong bow hunter, I think he was like going with his dad when he was like 5, and I think he's 65. So
Oh, well.
yeah, so he's been hunting a long time, bow hunting a long time, rifle, muzzleloader, the whole thing. And 2017 would have been my first season. I think the first fall, and 2016 spring of 2016 would have been my first like turkey season with a gun with him. So that was like
Okay.
my introduction. So
Yeah.
I shot. He's a big Hoyt guy, so I shot all his hand-me-down bows, which were awesome because they were like all carbon Hoyts. So I like didn't even know what I was
Oh,
shooting, how good I had it. Like, oh
spoiled
yeah,
from the
from the
beginning.
rip. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, same thing with like the piece of land that he manages. That now, like this year was a big year where he kind of like passed the torch to me to manage it. But even that piece of land, I'm spoiled on. Just
Like,
the beauty, like it's beautiful there. So I didn't realize how spoiled I had it until I started hunting a little bit more and stuff, and seeing other options and seeing how hard it is in other spots and situations and how public differs from private in
yeah.
Ohio and everywhere, but in Ohio here. And so yeah, 2017, he got me on like hooked onto it, and I shot that summer. I think I shot every single day, just trying to.
Mhm.
I lost so many arrows, and I was kind of like trying to self teach. And um, I know you're a big fan of Dudley. I'm a huge fan of Dudley,
Yeah.
and he was somebody I just poured myself into on his YouTube. He was easy to relate to because he was shooting bows that my father-in-law was shooting, so I could kind of like
Hmm.
envision what was going on.
Right.
I didn't have a press or anything at that time, but just learning technique. Like I would film myself with my camera or with my phone rather on the camera, and try to match myself up, my anchor, my everything to Dudley. Like everything he was teaching. Your anchor points, how your back arm should be versus your
Yep.
front arm versus your hand being open, being flat, and just fluid breaks. And I saw you at TAC in Pennsylvania, and I
Yep.
mean you can talk to
Oh,
how sweet Dudley is. I mean, I
he's
don't know
amazing.
anybody in the space. I don't know anybody like that guy.
I'll never forget going to TAC. We went down to Pennsylvania. I was with Peyton Golden, and CJ DBT's son Gary from the Full Draw podcast, and we rounded the corner and saw the knock-on booth, and I'll never forget the look on CJ's face. He was just like, like he's right there. Like for years we've been watching him, but he's right there, and he's just talking to people. And if you just wait a second, you could talk to him too, right?
Right.
Just amazing.
And like dab him up, and like I know, dude. That was me with Stu, not last year, the year before in Montana, and I was like, that's Dudley. It was like wrapping up the end of the one of the nights, and he came up and he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" Just like he's just the coolest guy.
Yeah, it's exactly like he is on TV and on YouTube, right? Wow. So when that first day we got there was in the evening, so we just walked through the vendor village, and I was like, we're coming back here every year. Like, just the fact that there's so many people there selling stuff that we can't even get or even touch, and now it's all on the table. You can go look at it. You're running into people that you talk to online, like we saw you and we saw Stu, and then there's the guys from Extreme Outfitters or whoever. Like, they're just dialed booths over there. You can finally get a hand on stuff. So that was really cool. But I remember that the following day, I think it was the Friday, we started shooting, but we wanted to come back and see Dudley because he was on his way out to go to have dinner with an Army vet and his family. So we go up, and he's like, "What's the camera for?" Because I was filming us out there, and I said, I have a YouTube page and called Caribou Media Outdoors, and just making a video of our experience here. And he's like, "Oh, okay." So I hand the camera to one of his guys, and I said, "It's recording, just like hold it up. Like, I'll take a screenshot of it for the thumbnail or something." And he just launched into this whole intro for the video, and I was like, "Oh my God." Is this happening? It's awesome. And they're like, they went in and they came back, and I'm like, "Oh my God." I said, "Oh, that's amazing." That's how I expected a picture. That was it, right?
I know.
It's incredible.
It's awesome, man. You can't fake that either.
No,
which is
absolutely not. So while we were there, I was on the practice range, and I heard Evan Williams talking, and I was like, we just heard him on the podcast on the way down. And I'm like, guys, that's Evan Williams. And they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, he's right there. He's shooting next to Gary, right? So we start talking to him, and then we go over to the Hoyt booth, and I had a 2019 Hoyt Helix Ultra. It was my first bow. I started when I was a kid on smaller things and did a little bit of recurve in high school, but then this was my first bow after years of not doing it. So, and I remember remember feeling it was a little squishy in the back wall, and there was a little bit of a hump when the cam rolled over, but I didn't care. That was my first bow. I loved it. I shot it. It was great. Then I picked up the Alpha X, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And light years from oh my God.
And the Helix is a great bow, but
it's a great bow. The
back wall is probably 10 times harder than it was. Because I know what you're talking about. I mean, I shot them older, like 2013.
And then to have them say, "Oh, here, have a hat." Oh, and do you want to talk to the engineer who built the thing? He's right there. Just like,
which one? Do you remember the engineer's name?
I can't remember now. Yeah, no, I can't.
If it was the guy, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I was hoping you knew it. You remembered it.
Yeah, shorter guy. He had black hair.
Was it Kevin?
Might have been Kevin. Yeah.
So he's a cam guy. So he does like this year, like that optimization module for cam, where a 29-inch draw can get 19 extra feet a second. That's absurd. That was that guy. That guy that you met did that.
Yep, did that.
So they took an already, like you shot the Alpha X, like they took an already insane platform, and then did what they do, which is over-engineered the shit out of it, basically. And made it insane. I mean, most of the people, probably not you, your draw probably long, but most of the people, I think, fall into that 27.5, 29-inch range, as far as like if you were to pull all the archers. And those ranges just got killer buffs in their speed on the platform.
And the feet per second is like within 3 feet or dead on from what they're advertising. Nobody else.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. Yeah, there's not much fluff. MFJJ does a good job of cross-reference and all that.
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot of fluff in those numbers. There's some other brands For sure that
Mhm.
we won't put
Ew,
anybody on blast,
no, no, no,
but
no, of course not.
that you're hard pressed to find, in your own. I'm trying to find a nice way of saying it. In your own chronograph,
Yeah.
at home or whatever, at the shop or whatever, that will give you that speed. Um, but no, yeah, man, they're killing it. I mean, they're doing what I hoped that they would do.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't have the Alpha X. I wanted it, but I mean, this. We talked about this a little bit. I'm a diehard carbon guy because it's nostalgic. Because it's what I started with,
Right.
and then did all the stuff with PSE and really love their carbons, and just had a hard time getting away from the carbon. So I knew for my whitetail season, and well, I guess for the season going from June on,
Mhm.
um, I knew I was going to be shooting a Redworks again, and I didn't even think to like go the Alpha X route, and I love
Right.
that. I love that. That Ultra's awesome. The regular 9 or 8 is awesome, but
Mhm.
the last Redworks I had was a 5,
Okay.
and I had the 30-inch, and I shot my first bull with that bow, and it's just a little short. Like I had to do a lot of like witchcraft. Like I basically had to take the bow out of spec to get my draw length
Yeah.
and like poundage that I wanted. And I would rather just shoot something that, um, even if I have to shoot a half inch short,
Right.
like I would do that. I hunted my Mach 30. I hunted a half inch short. Um,
What is your draw? Is it 30 or is it more than that?
30 and a half.
30 and a
My
half.
target setups are 31. So
Okay.
I hunt about a half inch short, but my my mock was their EC2 cam, which
Mhm.
maxes at 30, and that bow was an actual prototype, like an engineer like pieced that one together. I think I had it like the first week of August before the November launch, and so there was pieces like we had to epoxy, and like it was a really cool process, like the pick mount and stuff. But the bow wasn't like a post production model. It wasn't refined. So like my poundage was a little lower. My draw
Okay.
length was like a little shorter. So I had to just shoot it short, which is fine, for I mean everything I used it for. Used it for whitetail, so shorter, whatever down angle shots is better than being too long. So I
Mhm.
could get away with it. Shot and so that my whitetail hunt was at, my axis hunt was at, and my elk was not that. It was the 34, the Mach 34.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, the Redworks, it just felt good. It just felt like home. That grip felt like home. The platform felt very like home.
Yeah.
Some key differences I think for me was like the robustness of the cam. Uh, it just lacked. The thing for me was spec for spec, the speed. So
Okay.
it's a forgiving bow. It's they call it a 34-inch bow, but it's like I think it's 34 and 9 or 11/16 I think is
Yeah.
spec, and so it's a big bow. It's
Mhm.
7-inch brace. It's not really built for speed, um, but I do like a forgiving arrow. I like having in my head, your ranges, what's out there, and all right, I know where I'm going to hit with my 30 if I'm gap shooting, or I know at 35 I can hit this, and this with
Right.
not a whole lot of aim over, aim under, which is important. And with a lighter arrow or a faster arrow, depending, right? You go
Right.
as heavy as you can to get a certain speed. Um, so I look for speed a little bit more now than I did like even my first 2 elk hunts. I didn't really pay much attention to. I don't think I even chrono. You know what? I don't even think I chronoed up until after my V3X. I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I think all those builds I didn't chrono any of them.
So what kind of arrow weight do you normally
So
end up with?
before my 5.0, which we'll get into, before
Mhm.
that, because that changed the game for me. That was what I needed. I've been
I
talking.
think
I mean, everybody
it's
did,
what
right?
the
Like
world needed. Yeah.
it is like they did God's work on that arrow. They really did. There's so
Yeah,
many people that are
because
gonna.
I fell down the hole of the whole heavy arrow thing, and I was
Yeah,
shooting Axis at the time. I had
yeah,
75 grains of brass in
yep,
there. I had a 150 grain head. I got it up to
yep,
like 600 or 615. And if
sure,
you're shooting 20 or 30 yards from a ground
yeah,
blind or a tree stand and a deer, knock yourself out, right?
yep,
But
hmm
then I started thinking, well, I'm just going to back it up a bit and then I got back to 550 and then closer to 500 and then it was around
yep.
485 and I'm like, these things are zipping like,
Oh yeah,
and they have enough ass behind them that they're going to do exactly what I need them to do, right? So
hundred percent.
it's finding
Yeah,
that balance, right?
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
remember seeing you and Stu with those experimentals, and
Yeah,
I messaged Cody from Easton. I'm like, "What are those? I know you can't tell me, but I'm really interested to see what those
I
are." Right?
wanted to tell you. I
I
wanted
know,
to
I
tell
know.
you.
I wasn't trying to
The
get you to tell me,
no,
but
no, no.
I was just
The
like, when are those coming out? When's that
yeah,
experimental thing coming off? I want to know what it is. And then I thought about it, and I was like, what's the one thing that they
don't have.
could do to the lineup that they
Hmm
haven't done in a while? The Axis has been out for a long time. It's very
Yep.
popular. I think it's going to be another 5 millimeter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sure enough, the 5.0 is here, and man, that is going to dominate the
It's
market.
insane.
Like,
It's a phenomenal shaft, man, and it is. I won't tell you how I know it's durable, but it's durable from some little slip ups there.
yeah,
And like I know for sure, hypothetically, I know you could miss your target, skip it off the ground, and hit a tree, and it smack off the tree, not like hit in the tree and bounce
okay.
back and pass a flex pass.
Whoa,
Allegedly,
allegedly, maybe.
if you're somebody that misses targets sometimes, but no, it's a great arrow. The GPI on all of those are fantastic. I'm shooting a 250. It's 9.5 grains. I mean, there's no 250 that I can think of. That especially out of the lineup and the options that I was running before. So if we go back, I could kind of give you like first elk hunt. I did kind of what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did. I was like, I want a little bit of front end, so I
shrink.
didn't go
Yeah,
75, but I did the Dudley special. I did the 50 grains of brass,
yeah,
Axis 5
yeah,
on the front. I used a Dudley vane. I think it was the AAE Pro 23. It was like a
yep.
smaller vane. I did a four flex.
The lower profile. Yep.
Yep, I ran whatever he was running at the time. I think it was um, I think it was a Rage or something at the time. And yeah, and ran that, and that was good. I think I had a 5-pin spot hog at the time, and I wouldn't have to move outside of my range, like my comfortable shooting range that I felt like at the time for anything.
Hmm.
So 20, 30, 40, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. We're good. Um, and that arrow did it for me. And out of that, the other thing was that RX5 was moving. It was cooking. It was so that bow was supposed to stop at 30. I had it at 30 and a half. It was supposed to stop, 70. I had it at like 74. Like I don't know if that bow was going to be good through paper after I did all that, but
Yeah, yeah.
it was grouping fine with points. It was grouping fine with practice points with like those like G5 practice points.
Yep, yep.
So I felt good enough with it at the time. But like my overall knowledge then is when I think back to that then it's like wow, I was really just kind of learning, guessing, trying to evolve, figure stuff out that I thought worked based on people I respected and see if it works for myself. And then like you said, like what doesn't work or where do you fall? Like what do you like? I
Mhm.
personally I want in the heat of the moment, I want as much forgiveness both in arrow flight, like in trajectory,
Yep.
and which results in my pin gaps being smaller, um, as I can. And on an elk, that's great. And it's weird because I'm a whitetail hunter by default by region, right? And
Yep.
um, but I have more. So let's back up and say like I'm new to hunting, limited success, really only considered since 2017. The last really 2021 was when I feel like I really, you know, I put all the time in from 17 to 21, but my understanding was very basic. My time in the woods was extremely like limited. And
Right,
I
right.
just was really just like, it's almost like the way I think about it, Western guys would call it like bow hiking and like the tree stand guys would call it, like, what would you call it? Like active scouting, right, with a bow. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what I was doing. Sure, I would draw if I saw something, but
Yeah.
like, I think back to those times and like, there's probably not a whole lot of execution happening, even if you got to full draw on one of
Yeah.
those
I
bad
hear you.
boys. So where I was, and where I was even in 21, knowledge-wise, was like, we're just guessing, we're just trying some stuff.
Mhm.
22, I shot a significantly slower bow, so my V3X was significantly slower. And I think I was shooting a 4 mil Axis, and I did like
Oh, okay.
that setup.
The
And I
long
was running
range?
4 mil Axis, yeah, with my DCAs, my Super Sabers.
Right.
I was running those, and I was running whatever.
Use
I can't
lighted
remember what
nocks
half
at all?
out. I think I was running the aluminum half out and no lighted knock,
No
standard
lighted
knock,
nock.
not no, and
Yeah.
and they're an Easton's aluminum half out,
Okay.
which I was like, I was like, it's whatever. It's my first kind of half out go. And some of the things I wasn't crazy about, now in 2024, like even last year, they're fixed. And they've made they've expanded it. They've expanded the half out.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and made some changes. And now we have a 5 mil half out, which is
I saw
burst
that
from.
too.
Yep.
I
So I'll tell you, I didn't put anything through an animal with the 5 millimeter half out. I've done it with a
the
five
collar?
millimeter collar, and
Yep.
I've done it with a 5 millimeter no collar with brass.
Right.
So my 5.0 build is it's a 250 cut to 29 inches.
Mhm.
It is 9.5 grains an inch. I'm running a 3 fletch of the mini sabers and 5 inch wrap,
Yep.
5 inch wrap. I think. I don't think it's a 4. I cut them to hit just the end of my
Oh, the
vein,
wrap.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then 50 grains of brass, no collar, and 100 head. So
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what I'm at, 480, 45, and that's like
That sounds right, yeah.
screaming light for me. That's screaming light. Usually, I think my elk arrow, and I built Pro Comp and an X10, right, Parallel Pro.
Mhm.
My bull from last year, not this past season, but the year before, was shot with a Pro Comp, and that was 505, 507 grains,
Yeah.
titanium 55 half out, 100 head, and then the same on the back end. No lighted knock. And my 5.0 has a lighted knock. I'm running halos out of that.
Okay. How do you find the halos? I've only ever used nocturnals.
They're compared to nocturnals, and I use those also.
Mhm.
They're fantastic. They're not as soft as a nocturnal.
That's always my complaint is that they're
Yes.
kinda brittle, and I worry
Yes.
every time I
Yeah.
use them.
100% do the nocturnals. The on off is so much easier, or
Oh, the
the
halos?
halos rather.
Mhm.
Yeah, the on off is so easy. You can,
You just pull it off the
leave your
string?
string on and you
Yeah.
just pull it off your string. There's a thing you hold and pull it off. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm.
Durability is great. And then variants from knock to knock to knock in package. Like, you could buy like 5 3-packs and go through and weigh them. You're good. There's not
Oh, okay.
You're not all over the place. When I weighed some of the nocturnal stuff before years ago, and I don't know what they are like now, I was noticing,
Mhm.
and that's what got me off of them, was just off of lighted in general. I was
Mhm.
noticing some decent variances, and so I was like, "Oh, I don't know." So I just got away from them.
And do you know the weight of the halos? Are they similar to the, like,
They're like,
23 of the or are they
I
lighter?
will I wanna say they're like 19, 20, something like that.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that I usually sit around well, last year I sat around about 485, and then as soon as you throw in the lighted knock, you get bumped over
Yeah.
500, and it's like,
Yeah.
I gotta change my tape, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
But yeah, no, it's good. So, um, yeah, I shot the Axis for years, then I went to the Sonic 6.0 and absolutely fell in love with
I
them.
So these 5.0s are right up your alley then, because they're everything the 6 is in a
Just
5.
a little smaller, yeah.
I love the 6. I
Mhm.
Before this arrow came out, I was gonna run a 6 with brass, for whitetail.
Yep,
I just think it's a killer arrow. I think it's super durable,
Yeah.
and it's screaming fast. It's screaming fast.
Yeah, I went up to
But
the 6.5 this year just to give it a
yeah,
shot because I couldn't get
yeah,
the Sonics because they were sold out. And then I was gonna try and order them now, and then before the 5.0s came out, and then when I saw that there was something cooking in the
yeah,
lab, I was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna wait. And now
yeah.
I'm glad I did. So
Yep,
yeah,
100%.
definitely. And those half outs, the 55 grain half outs, got my name all over those. I'm gonna try those.
Yep,
I've never tried a half out before. Like you have always been like a collar or nothing
yep.
with the hit. So I think those half outs look pretty sick.
Yeah, they're good. It's not a weak point or a brittle point like some half out systems can be with the overlap that they have and the way that goes into the shaft. I I love them. I knock on wood, I haven't had any issues with anything that,
Mhm.
especially the new stuff,
Have you
which
tried any
I
of the
love.
FMJs or
Actually, so I have the FMJ Maxes.
okay.
I haven't built them. I haven't done anything with them. Um, they look amazing, and the GPI is ridiculous. So I shot. So if we go all the way back to when I first started, I shot an old FMJ with like the standard FMJ, uh, not match grade, just standard FMJ, factory fletched, and 100 grain head, and it hit a regular aluminum whatever hit insert, and love that arrow. Had no issues with it.
Mhm.
They pull amazing. That's a tack arrow, man. Other than the weight normally, right?
Right.
They just pull so easy. This the GPI for this like all the spine configurations that you can get is this basically is mirroring your Axis 50, your 5 millimeter
Right.
Axis.
Right. They lightened
So
it just
yeah,
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
just enough. And honestly, to get an Axis number out of an FMJ is absurd.
Mhm.
So the FMJ Max now, you're looking at that Parallel Pro being your heavier, it's heavier, which
Yeah.
Parallel
Yeah.
Pro, you were saving weight,
Yeah.
doing a reverse, an inside out FMJ.
What was the I don't remember what the weights were on that, the Parallel Pros. They're 4 mils, right?
So they are 4 mils. I don't have the spine here. Let me see which one
I
on this one. I don't
yeah,
have the spine chart.
that's
I
right.
don't
I
even
can
know
look.
which one this is because I shot a couple. I shot a 300 cut short. This is a 250.
And it's got the
I
carbon
can't
on the
see.
outside and the aluminum on the
Yeah,
inside, right? Yeah.
yeah. And this I repurposed these are the titaniums with
Oh, nice.
the 100 head. But yeah, this was a good arrow. This is a good arrow. And this is the 5.0. But see, I only built enough to put uh 6 in my quiver.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, those look
but yeah,
really nice.
255. They did an amazing job. I think the graphic looks amazing. Um, but this, yeah, I don't run the collar, but the collar, I shot my Axis with an Axis with a collar as they were experimenting that collar before the experimentals. This was January of this year,
Yep.
and that thing punched. That thing was insane. 50 grains of brass on that.
Mhm. And they've
Or
got
no,
like
I'm
a
sorry. That was a hit insert with the collar and a 100
okay.
grain head. So it
And
was it was screaming.
the half outs have got that silicone ring too to help keep
Yep.
it yeah. Oh, thought of everything, right?
Oh yeah, it's great.
You gotta
It's
leave it to Easton, right? And best
oh they
like
do
I've
it.
only ever shot them. I can't talk about any other arrow. I've never shot anything other than Easton. I absolutely love them. The Acu Carbon, the way that
Yeah.
it comes out, like that animation, people don't know that animation that you're seeing in all their ads. That's actually how it actually comes off of, normally carbon is on a roll and they roll it and then you've
Yeah,
got the
it's a
spine
dowel.
at the heavy side, right?
Right.
This is all like spun and it just
And it
looks
comes out in one
one
consecutive
consistent. Yeah,
line. Yep.
right.
And it's just chopped
Chop, chop,
and
chop.
batched. And the carbon, and I mean, even the carb, so it's manufactured here, but even the carbon they get from someone local, like from a company local in
Yeah, it's all in the
Utah.
US. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was another thing. I remember people saying, "Oh yeah, but they're probably getting their carbon from overseas." And it's like, no,
Nope.
they're getting it from the US and it's made in the US, right?
Yeah, it's wild.
You can't
It's
say that
engineered
about
in the US. It's produced in the US.
yeah.
Any engineering changes or R&D like that arrow. So Tyson came up here and hunted with us.
Yeah,
And
I saw
Tyson's a
that. Yep.
VP of, yep,
Yep.
and
Tyson Yates.
yep, and he's a
Mhm.
great guy. And he came up and hunted with us, and he was telling us all the things. about just about the arrow industry, you know, manufacturing piece of it.
Yeah.
And you know, Stu works in manufacturing. I had worked in manufacturing, so I kind of had some idea of like maybe potential problems and stuff. But just being able to like troubleshoot issues or work
Mhm.
on a, you know, R&D a product like that from start to finish was around 10 years on that product.
That's
But
crazy.
those guys had been hunting with that arrow before the experimentals. So it's funny is like the experimentals was really like a finished, polished product
Fine. Yeah.
for people to take into the field and really like make sure before is there any issue.
Like the final
Um,
stage.
yep,
Yeah.
if no, like forever hold your peace. You know, if
Yeah,
no
yeah,
one
yeah,
has
yeah.
any issues,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yeah.
take this to market.
We got our
And
finger
I
on the
mean, I
button.
yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't say one bad thing. I mean, my mule deer uh was above me slightly, quartering away modestly, and it went in, out, and stuck right into the cut bank. And it was I couldn't ask for more. 50-yard shot, flew like a dream, like a dream. You could watch that halo just zoop, zoop, zoop. It was. I mean, Cody called me the next morning when I sent him a picture of the arrow, and he's like, "Call me the next
How
morning
how to do.
while we're yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What complaints do you have?" And I was like, "Pfft,
Nothing?
none." Yeah. "Can I get more of them?" is what I
That's right.
told him.
That's right.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'll get you more. I'm gonna get you one with labels and stuff. I'll get you more." I was like, "All right,
Yeah.
cool." But no, no complaints. I have zero complaints. I mean, the fact that you could do a collar, the fact that you can do a standard hit, brass, or no collar with the brass, you could do a half out.
So many
Good
options, right?
lord, you're gonna cut so much weight. I mean, and if that's your thing, and sometimes that is the thing. Like, talked to some engineers at Easton a couple years ago, and they said 285, 285 feet out of your bow is what you want to build against. Meaning,
Magic number.
yep, go as heavy as you can for 285 as a minimum value.
Mm.
And they said at 285, you're going to reach maximum velocity. So I'm not a physics guy, but they sent me a chart, and it was a X chart, and in each quadrant there was like subcategories. I'm trying to remember what it was, like velocity, kinetic energy, which those like overlap, speed, and
Yeah.
something else. And it was at that 285 over and over and
Momentum.
over again when they tested. That's where you're going to get the most without sacrifice. Now you go a little
Right.
bit lighter, you're going to get a little bit more speed. So like trajectory, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the happy medium. So for a minimum value, I know Stu and I both, like when we build our rigs, we're building the arrow to the bow because not, you know, we know this, like not every bow is created equally.
Mhm.
So you can go from like what I did, which was a 6-inch brace, 30-inch bow that's pretty much screaming, to a almost 35-inch bow, 7-inch brace. You're going to need, if you want similar trajectories or sight tapes or whatever, pin gaps, you're going to have to make some changes on your arrow side. So, like you said, I mean, Easton making an arrow like this, cool, man. If I was shooting an axis, well, now I'm shooting that. I
Mhm.
got this bow. Now you're good to go. So it just gives you unlimited options now.
Just want to take a quick break to talk to you about a couple of things that I've been using that I think might benefit you. One is this Numa Outdoors gear. This is in their Kaza OV pattern, which is great whitetail pattern when you're up in a tree in the fall and late season. They also have a Kaza pattern which has more green in it, which is good for spring through to the fall. Numa has given me a code to give to you of Caribou Media 20, which will save you 20% at checkout. Another product here that I've been using for years now is the Bulldog targets. This is a Canadian made target. They're made in Manitoba. They have a lifetime warranty. I've used that warranty twice now on a couple of my larger targets that are outside. It's very simple, very easy. These targets are 2-finger removal every single time, which is incredible. Field point only target. Bulldog's been gracious enough to give me a 20% discount code to give to you at checkout. Use code BD20-Caribou-Media. That'll save you 20% on these awesome targets. Now back to the show.
I
Yeah.
mean, so you're
So,
covered.
and that even their lineup, like you just take your pick. What do you want to do? Because we got something for everybody, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Or every event or every type of shoot. mean,
Yep.
if you're a 3D guy, I mean, you have your pick of the litter. I mean, whatever you want to. I specifically build 6 points for tags, Sonics with a standard insert.
Yep.
I'll drop down a spine. So if
Okay.
I'm shooting a 250, I'll shoot a
Shoot the
300, cut
300.
super short. I'll keep I'll keep everything, my back end weight. Like I won't mess with my back end weight. My front end weight, I go standard so that I'm not messing with my stiffness. Like there's ways around, and Cody will talk your ear off about
Yeah,
options on that all day.
he's gonna jump on here too, which is cool. So
Oh yeah, no, that'll be great, and get into it because that guy knows his stuff. Like you're not stuck, and I didn't know any of this. 2021 all the way up to 2021. It was, I'm just building what is a good suggestion. It's a great starting point. That arrow was a great jumping off point. But with that specific build that Dudley did, like that has been vetted and tested a million times. That guy has shot 1,000 reps
everything.
weekly or whatever,
Yeah.
and
He even did it to show you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And he'll show, so I felt good about that. And, but yeah, man, and the pro like, I don't like you were talking about whitetail, shorter shot. You could add some oomph to your arrow if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it's almost like me and Stu were talking about this. It's like we don't really need it.
Don't need it.
None of us do.
No.
It's almost like, and I don't want to knock the heavier arrow thing, but it was almost like out of nowhere. This science, the physics and the science, it went backwards, and it kind of skipped the bow as technology, and it just used the math based on either what bows were putting out before, speed or spec wise, or traditional bows. Like you look at traditional bow, like Dave will tell you, you're shooting a heavy arrow, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Because you have to. So, but these bows that are cooking, and all of these bows are cooking. It doesn't really matter anymore what bow you get; they're all cooking.
They're all gonna They're all gonna kill a deer as long as your
100%.
as long as your shot placement's there, you'll be good to go. But again, going back to shot placement, the heavier you make it, the wider you're gonna have a problem. Your arrow is gonna be that much bigger, right?
So there's a couple guys from Tyson was one of them. Vince from New Mexico, who works as a guide for one of the New Mexico guides that I use. He came, and I was sick during that time, so I didn't get to hunt with him. But what those guys noticed and Tyson killed. But what they noticed is hunting from a tree stand is so much different than the ground and pound of the West. And I'm not saying one's harder than the other. I'm not gonna get everybody else. But I will say it is not easy shooting out of a tree stand. And if you or a saddle or whatever, not that you shouldn't do it. But the way you view your target, there's another, and there always is angles of cut when you're on the ground. Like, I mean, even my mule deer, being above me, I was on the ground, but he was only slightly above me and quartering away. So the shot entrance looks low in a way, but it's going through everything it needs to go through, and it's coming out money. And that is kind of like those angles and aim for the exit and all that. It's kind of tree stand hunting in a nutshell. I mean, you have the deer's angle to you, right? Quartering away, quartering towards broadside, whatever, front on, whatever. But you also have to factor in how high are you and how far out are they? Because now we're talking about where we're entering the target or the animal, up or down, right? And just naturally, that arrow we're gonna aim on straight on, and that arrow is gonna hit high, right, from a high point, right?
Yep, I learned that.
So you got to aim, and you got to aim intentionally low, almost. Not to mention different. Most whitetail, I would say, depending on body language and everything else, are going to, going to duck to bound out type of thing. Especially if their head's down and feeding, they're like, it's easier for them to bound out than if their head's up. But it's best case scenario is obviously they're not strung out, looking around, high alert, everything,
Yeah.
So there's some differences. And I just, I love the West, and I love I love mule deer. I love elk. I love it. I love it. I want to do more stuff. I want to do speed goat. I want to do, I, you know, CJ's always talking about moose. You know, it's like, I
Yeah.
want to do moose. I want to
That's
do,
his,
I want to
yeah.
do caribou, you know, but like,
Oh,
I,
that's my jam right there. That's my
right?
number one. Woodland caribou in Newfoundland. I will like that box will be checked at some
Oh
point,
yeah.
and it's like, oh my
That's,
god.
you got to do it. And it's like,
Yeah.
and all of those pursuits, I think, are all very difficult in their own ways. And I don't know if you feel like this or not, but like, I very much feel like whitetail hunting, tree stand hunting, it gets this sort of poo poo, like,
Yep.
whatever. What are you, whitetail fat? You know, I always hear that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it is, it is so frustrating and so unbelievably rewarding, that
Mhm.
pursuit, that stuck in one area. I moved my chess piece based on my intel, based on my camera, based on,
Mhm.
and I'm committed. I'm committed, and this is
Mental
where I'm
grind.
going.
Yeah, mental
Yeah,
grind.
and
Yeah.
can you put the pieces together? You know, and can you do it? And then when you do it, whitetail, it happens very fast. And I know that can happen across other species. I get that, but it happens quick.
Mhm.
You know, my whitetail from last year is right there, and it came in. It was pre-rut, and he came in smoking fast and just threw on the brakes, like they do, with no shot, right? And I'm
Yeah.
at full draw, like, wonderful, because if he would have just kept coming and even J hooked like they do
Yep.
to catch wind, right, he'd
Yep.
be smoked. And it's I am like, so I've fallen so madly in love back with whitetail. It's amazing. But like, I say that, but then, you know, give me an opportunity to do other things too, and I'm gonna do it. But I don't know, man. It's the whitetail stuff's amazing. But these, hopefully I'm not getting too far into the weeds, but the
Mm-mm.
arrows you can build with selection. You can build an elk arrow specific to your elk, or, you know, for me, I was really, for my mule deer hunt, Stu and I both were kind of like, what do we want to shoot? Because what I heard, you know, and I never mule deer hunted before last year, or before this past season, and you know, talked to some guys in the West, some buddies in the West that hunt it. They love mule deer, and everybody had the same thing to say, which is, be prepared to shoot long, and be
Yep.
prepared to shoot long
And
and in
quick.
wind.
In wind,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, how long? And they're like, realistically, like, it's your limit, but like, there's guys that will absolutely shoot mule deer at 90 yards. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, awesome. And it's plains. You know, we were in South Dakota. It's plains. It's open plains with cut banks. So I totally get now why they said that. And when we went, it was just not typical of the season. It was very hot. It was very not windy. It was
Mhm.
tough to stalk. You
Yeah.
know, it was
Yeah.
not a great scenario.
Everything that
But
they said it wasn't gonna be.
oh yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be crisp. You know, you're
Yeah.
gonna have good wind, cover your stock, everything like that. So we're thinking like, okay, I think we need to go 4 mil because of like drag, and I don't
Right.
want my arrow getting pushed off any more than it has to be aiming off target. Um, you know, we were looking at wind. What's average wind for the month? Like, blah, blah, and it's pretty significant.
Mhm.
Gusts, definitely significant, steady pushes of wind.
Mhm.
So we're like, yeah, well, I might have to do Parallel Pro, but then I'm like, I don't know, my Parallel Pro is gonna be, I'm gonna have a different trajectory than I'm really going for. So I was like, well, maybe I just rebuild a Sonic to be like a 50 grains of brass or something. Like, I was just trying to
Yeah,
think
yeah,
of a
yeah.
way to keep my weight down. And then during this dilemma is when Cody was like, "Hey man, so this is coming," and this was like right at the inception. I think Tyson was the one, I think, that was like, "Yep, we need to stamp it with experimental, and we need to get them out to people.
Yeah.
It needs to happen ahead of time." And so I knew nothing about it, and he called me and he tells me, and I'm like, "Cool, give me GPI." And he didn't have everything yet.
There's
He
no
kind of
spec
like,
sheet, there's nothing.
uh-uh.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like, I think it's going to be around this. And he wasn't far off at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I can work with that. And instantly, like, my whole arrow came to life for mule deer. I was like,
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
my arrow, man. I know it's going to give me the speeds I want, because I already had a Pro Comp or a X10 chronoed. I had a Axis chrono, a standard no brass axis. So I knew kind of where I would end up being, and I'm like, that's exactly where I need to be. And I can run lighted, and I can run a collar if I want. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So that's what me and Stu did. That's what we built. And they tuned great. They flew great. And then I continued to use them here while I was hunting whitetail before I got sick, before I couldn't hunt whitetail anymore. But Stu shot his 5.0 through his mule deer and his whitetail here. Just no issues, great.
Yeah.
So I can't
That's
say
it.
enough.
I'm gonna be picking them up as soon as they're ready to ship up here.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, like we were saying, tree stands. You really gotta practice from that height. If you're, like the first bear I ever shot was out of a tree stand, and shot too high, stuck it in his back, took off running, snapped the arrow off, no blood. Searched for like 4 hours, came back the next day, grid searched with 4 other people, never found him. First animal I shot with a bow, never found him. And I have the broken axis with the dried blood and the hair on it in my garage as like a reminder, right? Like, do better next time. So yeah, definitely practice from heights if you're going to be shooting out of a tree stand. But yeah, that there's no, like, every adventure is different, right? Like, I went out to BC, and like you said, everything's, you can get close-up shots if you're in the thick stuff, but then if you're out in the open, you might have to take a longer shot. So you got to be ready for anything that might be coming at you, right? Are you able to
absolutely
give us a little play-by-play of the mule deer hunt, or is that coming out in the video and you want to save that for...
I was actually just talking, so I was talking to the Latitude guys, Latitude Outdoors, and I was telling them, Stu and I have every intention every time we link up for a hunt to film, and we bring tons of equipment, and we, on his stocks, I was carrying, I think I put a picture up on my story the one day, like I was carrying a full cinema rig, like kitted out, and they're not super light, and we were trying to get him, and it's, and we're doing things we've never done too. That's the other thing. Like, he's never hunted mule deer. I've never hunted mule deer. We've not hunted it in open plain like that. So we were just thinking we were trying to conceptualize, like, how will it get done? How will we do it? We'll just wing it. We'll figure out how it does. And we had, we had some tough, I'll just say some tough experiences with getting kind of passed around. So that guide service, our guide that we were supposed to have, was unavailable. So it was a 5-day hunt, was unavailable for 3 of those days. So we got kind of like substitute dudes that came in each day, like one guy. And it's tough because the guy, you know how it is. Like, you meet somebody and you build a repertoire, you kind of learn pacing. You learn, like, one guy was like, his stalk was like super fast. He never took his shoes off. And I was like, I even asked him after the first time, I'm like, hey, I go, and I don't know. So I'm not trying to act like I know. Should it be that? It seemed very rushed. And he was like,
a little bit.
We probably went too fast. But the poor guy had done a 5-day hunt the weekend and then had stayed the Monday to as like a favor to the guy service to help us. So yeah, I can give you a play-by-play, because we do a really bad job of, when we get into like a kill mode, like, all right, man, we tried. Forget the video. We need to put animals on the ground. We're bad about that. Like, there's guys, tons of them, and they're amazing. They bring cameras with them. You have your camera with you all the time. You have your camera in the tree stand. I have a tree arm. I have not hung a camera yet. Not yet. Not once. I'm awful. I am so bad. And
every time I do it, I'm like, what am I doing this for?
No,
but I know I want it. Like, I want to try and get it.
Absolutely.
I don't want to ruin, like, the opportunity because I reached to turn the camera on.
No,
if it came to it, just don't do it. But if the opportunity is there and I can capture it, then I'd love to. Like, I go back to the first bear, I would love to have that footage to look at, right, and to go over and everything else. But so that's why I do it, and I love putting them together and putting music to it and all that stuff. But But there's times where I'm lugging that stuff up in the tree and the bag's
Yeah.
super heavy. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right?
And I've done it. I've carried it out there, man, and I've just
Yeah.
been like, "Nope, nope." And I don't know,
Well,
I'm just bad. I'm just bad about it.
when I went to BC, my wife's cousin was guiding me out there, and I brought my son with me. He was 16 at the time. So I kept giving him the camera because I'd be like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
and he was like, kind of,
Yeah.
we wasn't all in on it. Like, he did a great job for the times that he did, but there were times where he'd be like, I don't want to hold this anymore. But
Right.
we had to preserve. I had a certain amount of batteries. We were using
Yeah.
like solar to charge stuff, and it was, the fire's really bad, so the smoke would cover, so it was hard to charge things. Anyway, so we'd preserve the battery. So I'd be like, okay, turn it on, hit record. Okay. And then we'd bugle and we'd wait and we'd wait. And I was like, okay, shut the camera off. And then you'd shut the camera off, and then you'd get a response from the elk. I'm like,
Right,
damn
of
it.
course.
I'm like,
Of course.
we spent 8 days out there. I don't even have an actual elk sound on my camera. It's like,
It's
it's so
it's
hard.
it's fun though, like, that's part of it, and it's like, it brings you enjoyment making the videos and stuff, and,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
I think that's huge, like, I gotta get to a point where, uh, I'm doing it not because I feel like I have to, and I don't feel like I'm there yet, like, and we talked about this too, it's like, you go to the mountains or you go into the hardwoods or whatever, and you climb in, you're standing, you're getting in a saddle, it's like, that is almost, and so many people say it in so many better ways than this, but it's like you're going to church. It's like your time
Oh yeah.
to connect and reflect, and you're actively hunting. Like you're listening for squirrels barking, and you're watching and you're scanning, and but it's I'm so grounded feeling
Mhm.
leaving, and it's
You
it's
feel
any hunt.
amazing.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it's every time.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, and I gotta just put it to the test and just take, just put the camera up, but it's like, I always wonder, like, is it gonna take me out of that?
Mm, mm.
Because I know for a fact when I film and it's like me and Stu and we're filming for the mule deer, it's like I'm completely me in that moment is the film, the shot, the steadiness, the pans, your crash zooms, your storytelling.
Yep.
And I want him to be focused on the hunt, what he's doing.
Mhm.
We don't need
Yeah,
any
don't worry
extra.
about the camera, just let me worry
Nope.
about that. Yeah, yeah.
And so I have a lot of fun doing it with someone else. Like, I think that's
Right.
awesome, like filming somebody else.
Yeah.
Just for myself, it's tough. But I say all that to say we have a ton of footage. We don't have his kill was at complete last light. So I was in the way that they had to drop in to make this stalk. I didn't even go. I stayed on the knob that I
Mhm.
could see them until
Right.
I couldn't see them. And same thing with him. He stayed and glassed a finger on the adjacent side of from where I was making my stalk. So he didn't see it. So play by play is long story short, we got our butts handed to us for 3 days hard. I was sick with some upper respiratory voodoo
Mm.
for I think the day I landed. And I was just
Ugh.
crushing energy drinks and like Mucinex and like
Yeah.
we're just getting through it. I was
Get
falling
this
asleep in the
shit out of me.
Polaris. Yep.
Yeah.
And by like day 2, we're doing good. Like I'm like coming back to life. And the guide service was awesome. The land was awesome. Like it was sick out there. Like you
Says North
saw mule
Dakota?
deer, south.
South Dakota. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I had never been there, and it was killer. Saw speed goats, saw mule deer. It was awesome. So I think the first couple of days, like we tried to get what we tried to get, and then when we got the guide we should have had, that's when it was like go
It all
time.
clicked. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Sarah who organizes the hunt, she knows of us. She didn't know us. We met her personally at camp, but so she had an idea of kind of like our hunt style, like whether we're super aggressive or we like, we'd rather we're real choosy and we'd rather glass and be choosy on an animal. Like she knew exactly kind of like what we came into with what expectations, and so they picked. I think I'm an awesome guide, and this guy was Trey. He was a savage, and
Mhm.
we hammered it. And that dude, had us, we were glassing like the buck that I shot, we saw the day before I shot him. So we were only with Trey for 2 days. So the day before I shot him, on 9/11, on 9/10, I saw him shed his velvet, I don't know, 200 yards in front of me.
Oh wow.
And so we called him like Pink Boy because he was just pink for the whole day, right? And we just couldn't get on him. He was with another buck, and it was wild. So the day that on 9/11, we had just a junk morning. We were trying to get on these deer. We glassed up, dropped down into a cut bank, popped back up, forever away from where we parked. And we lost them. We were like, where did they go? Here, they go there. We couldn't relocate them. So we're heading back, jump in the Polaris, rip around to where we saw these doe go. And there was the Pink Boy and whoever was with him, whatever buck was with him. He was like this big double fork velvet. He was cool. He was super cool. I mean, he had big, wide forks. He wasn't like going to score anything, but he was awesome. And he was with him. So they were kind of in close proximity to these doe. So we were like, oh, we know where the doe went. Maybe they're over there. And so we make it over there, and I end up knocking an arrow, and I'm peeking over a cut bank, and it's the does. I can see them all. And it's like 4 of them. And I'm like, shit. And so Trey's going around the other side to see if there's bucks with them, but on the other, like on the cut bank that I can't see. And I'm waiting, and he goes like 4 from like 100 yards out. He goes 4 slick heads, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I backed up, and then they picked up him in the sagebrush. Okay. And so they jump up, they bound up over the cut bank and stop. And I hit the deck. I'm holding my bow. I hit the deck. I look to my right, and there's one like right by. She can't see me. There's a sage bush like right in front of me. And he just stands up because he's like, they're gone, whatever. But he can't really see me because now I'm down and he's lower. So then they blow, right? So they're blowing and bounding off. And I'm like looking around because there's another cut bank to the left. So if the bucks weren't here, they have to be there, or we're completely wrong. Yeah, we're completely wrong. So nothing got kicked up. So I'm like, So he comes to me. We round the outside rim and we come up. He's above me, and I'm over to the side, and his foot just barely scratches a rock, just barely, and it was calm. And these bucks, it was the 2 at the time. They jump up. They bound out to like 150 yards, and they look back. And
they always look back, eh? What's up?
They look back like, what's up? And I'm squatted down, and he's squatted down, and they just walk off like slow. And he looks at me, and he goes like, he just goes like this, like when they get around that cut bank. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, I don't have lungs for this. I know what he's gonna do, right?
We gotta run.
He sprints after these things, and I'm like, full pack bow, like I'm just like, I couldn't breathe for anything. I was so I get to the top of the cut bank, and we look over, and he's like going like this. He's like, they're over here, and they're walking, and they're basically just feeding in. So they got basically, it's like they got bumped off of bedding, and they're gonna go find more bedding. And it's like middle of the day, like 11 o'clock, or no, it's 10 o'clock because it was like 11 and change when I shot him. And so they picked up another buck, smaller buck. So it's like my buck, medium buck, small buck. And they kind of feed around the bottom edge of this cut bank. They jump up this cut bank, and then they drop down, and then you never see them. And he goes, 100%, they're sitting right there. Sun's over here. They're sitting right here in the shade, 100%. And I go, really? He's like, yeah. And so we're on a finger glassing, waiting for them to pop back up. They never do. So Stu is like, he's catching up to us because he didn't run after us. He was like, get lost, dude.
Yeah,
like, So he catches up, and he's like, are they over there? Like, I didn't see him pop up because he had it's crazy in there, like with all the ups and downs. Like it looks flat when you're looking out there, but it's not.
No, it's not.
And he's like, I'm going to stay here on this finger. I'll glass. And I'll make sure you guys do your stock. I'll make sure if they go any direction or whatever. I'm like, cool, that works for me. So we drop down off the finger. We loop around about 100 yards in. We lose the shoes. And I just kept telling myself, like, don't forget the cactus. Because there they have these little tiny cactus. They're like flat.
They're nasty.
And they're under. So it's all like grassy. like
Mm.
all like big, like I don't even know what you call it, just a bunch of it's like yellow grass. It's all matted down, and they're under that, of course. So they're not like
Yeah.
cactus like you see like with the little
Little
things.
surprises hidden for you.
Yeah, they're like little beef patties. So like Stu sat in one at one point. Like it was awful. But so I'm just like, all right, I'm in my socks. Just watch where you're stepping.
Yeah, no way. No kidding.
So I'm like, we're tiptoeing a little bit, probably go 50 yards. And then there's this, it's not quite a cut bank. It's almost like a little tiny drainage. It's probably like 18 inches lower than what we're standing on. So we get down in that and we're crawling, and we crawl probably 80 yards. And that was insane because like, you know, I've never spot and stalk like that. Like, so we're, you know, picking up your bow and laying it down and then coming up and then laying it down, like, and not trying to make noise and all, and like trying to like, I felt like the whole time I was holding my breath because I was like, how close are we getting? Like, I can't tell how close we're getting. I know he's over here, but how close is he from there? You know? And so we get into, I don't know, maybe 60 or so from him. And I can see the tops. I can see his tips because he's down off a little, like a larger drainage. He's down in that all in the
comfy.
dirt.
Yeah.
All comfy. And I think what happened was, so they had picked up another buck, smaller buck, and I think he walked past him to move over further like towards the north of where he was bedded down. And so that got him to get up. And when he got up, I drew back. And I was like, I don't know. We said he was at 60. Like, I don't know where he's at now. And he was like almost broadside, like definitely take the shot. And in one motion of standing up, so he stands up, I'm like, okay. And then he immediately turns, drops. So he's just butt to me, drops, and then shimmies in the dirt and then smacks his face in the dirt. Like, just like, his chin was flush with the ground. It was wild. I'm like, all right, we're going to be here a while. Like, he got comfortable.
He got comfy.
Super comfortable.
He's going to bed.
So I'm like, oh my God. So we're sitting there.
Throw a rock at him or something.
Dude, I know. Well, that's the thing. So Trey goes, how aggressive do you want to be? And I'm like, this is the last day. I go, I don't want to be aggressive at all. I want to be calculated, man. Like, you tell me. Like, if you tell me we need to be aggressive, I'm good. Like, we
can't screw this one up.
We can send it. But he goes, so there's two things you could do. He goes, you can draw and stand up, which is what I did with my elk, and it will work. Right. I shot my elk in his bed. I stalked in on my elk kind of like you with a bow, kind of like you would do strategy wise with a rifle. You find them going to bed down and you shoot them in their bed. It's not really how you do it, like bow hunting wise. I think like typically, like I remember my buddy was like, you've got like a 4% chance of like making that work, but it will work. Yeah. Well, you know, they got all their cows. They're in a spot that's a complete advantage to them.
Oh yeah.
They're on the shady side of the mountain. Yeah. And you're going through cat claws to get there, you know? So I knew that's a possibility, and I wasn't not willing to do that. So basically it would be like draw, stand up, you know, Matt, try to get him to stand and then do it, or pin him while he's in his thing. But from where he was, and that was what I didn't like, he was facing almost dead on straight away.
Yeah.
So even if I stood up, the likelihood of him, and this is just me like logically thinking, like the likelihood of him standing up and turning broadside to me for no reason, he's going to stand up and he's going to go up that cut bank.
Yeah.
Yep. Because there was like at least a 25-foot cut bank. And I'm like, there's no way he goes up that. Right. But he probably could, because I watched those doe jump 15 feet like it was no big deal. Or we sit here and we wait where the sun is, and we wait for the sun to eat a shade, and then he absolutely will stand up on his own, and then you just shoot him then. And I was like, I'll take option 2. And he goes, well, he's like, it could be all day. Like, we could be here all day. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, he may ignore the fact that he's laying in the sun. He goes, I doubt it. But he goes, I've been here before where it's like, we're pushing legal light where they're not getting up. Like, they're just done for the day.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'll take the chance, man. So we sit there for an hour. And you can see the sun just like the shade's just going away. And it's his shade. It's just, the sun is pushing to him. It was wild. And so then you knew, like, unless I mean, I was ready. It was really uncomfortable because you're just sitting there like ready, you know,
Yeah, that's right.
because you don't know if this thing's going to just stand up for no reason.
Yeah.
But I'm like knowing, all right, cool. He's probably going to stand up when he gets hot, or if one of these other bucks get up for whatever reason and walk past him, he might reposition. I didn't like where he was because I still thought he's going to get up and he's going to, at the very least, he's going to walk away from where I was at. And he did still. So when we ranged in, he was at, I think, 46 bedded.
Okay.
So I got his tips, 46, cool. So I put my sight on 45 and knew I'm going to hold high because I know I can hit 45 or 46, who cares? But I know he's going to take a couple strides out before he cuts up. And that's if he cuts this way to go broadside or to go quartering away. If he goes straight up the thing, which unless it would be spooked or blown out, I didn't think he was taking that huge. I mean, it was super high. And he didn't drop down it. He came down the shorter side. So I'm like, I don't see him going up that. But if I blow him out, he absolutely will go up that thing.
Right.
And the left side was shorter. It wasn't much shorter, but it was short enough. It was almost like that, like staggered, like benched.
Like a
and so I'm like,
way out.
If I'm him, I'm taking that. I'm just going to go up, and I'm good. I'm not going to go up, a huge wall of dried riverbank. Like,
right. Yeah.
So the shade got eaten up on the other two bucks before it got eaten up on his, which was great. So that commotion kind of, I think, started his, okay, I need to get up mentality, right? So the first buck gets up and walks kind of straight out and away. And he was, like I said, young, noticeably small, no big deal, didn't get excited. That big wide double fork, still in velvet, he walked directly broadside at 35 yards to me. And it took everything. Trey goes, no.
Don't
the
do
whole
it.
time he's going, don't you fucking do it. And I was like,
well, it was right there.
yeah. So what do I get for waiting? I get a 50+ yard shot above me, quartering away steep. I was like, okay, cool, dude. But totally worth it. And I made a last second decision because I noticed when he came, so he stands up, he steps out further from me. So I'm thinking in my head, like 47, 48. And now he turns at a diagonal. He steps up. And it wasn't a lot. Like I said, it was probably the 18 inches we were down. He stepped up from that drainage. So I'm thinking 49.
Right.
And so now,
I don't,
yeah. So I don't know. So now I'm at full draw and I'm going to stop him. And so I say to Trey, I go, range him again. And he ranges him again. He says 50. I hold up and over and it breaks. And it was like literally perfect. I couldn't have, when I saw it hit, I thought it was bad.
Oh yeah.
Like I saw it go in. So he was like, oh, wait for me. I saw it go in low and back.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
That's not where you want to be.
No.
I just blew out his guts or something. And that's basically where it entered. And it went through, hit everything all the way through, came out just behind opposite side shoulder. And I'm like, that's a miracle. Yeah. Like that was steered by God because I know where I was aiming. I was aiming offside shoulder, but the entrance like tripped me out. Like when I saw it going, I was like, oh no. Yeah. And Trey was like, you smoked him. I go, I don't know about that.
I don't know, man.
And he freaking, all three of those bucks took off. They went up the bench. Stu has video of them.
Did he go up the one you thought he would go up?
Yeah, just because I'm like, I was climbing up them all week, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, I would climb that one over that one, you know? And that's what he did. He goes up. All of them did. They went up, they went over, and they dropped back down, and they disappeared out of Stu's sight off that finger.
Nice.
So I run up. Trey runs up. We look. We don't see him. So we're like, all right, whatever. Go back down. Find the shot, find the arrow. And by that time, Stu's already with us. So I'm running. I'm putting my boots on. We go up. Stu, we get to the top of that cut bank. Stu shows us the video. He goes, they went to the left. I go, cool. So we went to the left. We dropped down, and to the left cut bank, all piled up in the shade, there he was. And I was like, And I look at him and they're like, congrats. I'm like, holy crap. Like, it was like he made it to the top and dumped over and that was it. And I was like, that's crazy.
You found the
But
shade again.
he found the shading. I'm like, what? This is weird. So I'm walking up to him slowly. And I mean, I don't, you probably don't do this. Like, we don't, when you shoot a whitetail, like, you're not running after the whitetail to find it. Like, you're letting that go. There, they break your sight line, like it's over. Like, you're never finding them, kind of thing. So he's like, we're not losing this guy again. We lost him once, just like from the morning. We're not losing him. We're staying on him. I'm like, all right, cool. So there he was. So I walk up, we walk from the top of the cut bank, the 20 yards to him. And I go to take my cam to tap it. And it jumps up.
Whoa!
Scared. I literally screamed. I was like, what? Like, it jumped. It like was like.
That's not supposed to happen.
No, I've never had that happen. It jumps up. I mean, and it's got two perfect holes in it. I'm like, this thing's just
be dead.
Yeah, it goes up. It cuts around a cut bank. I sprint to the top of this cut bank, and I'm looking down, and he dove like behind kind of like a tree, not a tree, but like a brushy type bush thing, and then sagebrush. And he's like piled up right there. And it was like 35 yards. And I put one smack dab in his heart. And it still, I had to turn my back. I had to turn my back and walk away. Cause he sat there. It felt like forever.
Really?
Just one of the toughest animals I've ever seen.
Wow.
Ever. Got Stu, the guy, Trey was there. And we walked up. He's dead. Awesome. For sure he's dead. And we were pumped. So we look at our watches. We're like, it's 11 o'clock, man. There is so much time we can double. Because me and Stu were trading stocks.
Right.
So I'm like, bro, we can double. Like, and he was like, Stu was like, I don't think so, man. Like, we're running out of time. I'm like, oh, we can do it, dude. So we drag this thing out. We go take it to the barn. We hang it. We get Stu. I got Stu a sandwich and an energy drink, and we were crushing. We were ripping back in the Polaris, hitting the spot.
Yeah.
So we get on this monster deer, and this little tiny thing saw us, and so he went with that. And I'm looking at Stu, and Stu's like, "It's over. Like, it's over." And there's this moment sitting on this knob, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're running out of time. Like, it might be over." And I'm like, "No, it's not over." But I'm thinking in my head, like, it's probably over. But, and I felt bad because the last one we did together, it was the same. It was the same thing. It was like I shot my buck, and then he ran out of time, and I'm like, no, this can't be. This can't be the case. Can't be the case. So we decide, all right, we're gonna get in the Polaris, and we're gonna rip down the road to the other lease, and we're gonna see if we can get on the two bucks that me and Stu saw over there the first day with some random guy, some random dude. We're like, we'll see if we can see him again. The buck that Stu ended up shooting was the buck that was my first stalk that the guide blew.
Wow.
He like went running in there and completely blew it. And me and Stu were looking at each other like,
what was that?
What was that? And Stu, and he was in velvet was the cool part.
Oh,
and
cool.
He was really wide. He was really, really wide, which was cool. Mm-hmm. And Stu shot him 35 yards steep, quartering away, steep. And he just laced the shot. It got stuck in offside shoulder. He hit every organ on the way through. He used that new hybrid Sevr
1.5.
Yeah. And
which one were you using?
I am a 175 freak, dude.
We were talking about that before. Yeah.
I shot a 2.0 for my Axis. I did a 7.5 for everything else last year. The 1.5, I was kind of excited. I don't feel like I was as excited as everybody on it, but it did ridiculous things to the inside of that. Like, it looked like it got shot with a 308.
Yeah.
Like, it was like his offside shoulder was hamburger.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, I got them. I got the whole lineup. I did a couple of videos and into ballistics gel. And
yeah.
Like, Oh my god. These are crazy. And people
They're
were
crazy.
saying, hey, if they ever throw bleeders on those 1.75s, it's gonna be game
I would
over,
shoot that.
right?
I would shoot that. I don't mind the 1.5s. I just I don't have a lot of like nostalgic warm fuzzy feeling about them because I haven't screwed them on. Also, I'm shooting a poundage and a draw length that like I don't really like. I'm getting pass throughs with ease with a 2.0. I don't necessarily need the 1.5, and
Right.
so if like say lower poundage, lower kinetic energy, definitely run the 1.5s are going to do amazing things. But
Mhm.
going back to the forgiveness piece, like I want a bigger cut. You know, the 1.75, I can get a 2.0 cut out of the 1.75 all day. The 2.0,
Yeah.
you're getting a bigger cut than the 2.
Even bigger. Yeah, yeah.
So the 1.75, I like everything about it. I like the blade angle, I like the ferrule, I like everything about it. I
It's like
wouldn't
a
change
sweet
it. To
spot.
me, yes, that was a hybrid build. It took elements of the 1.5 that I really like and
Yep.
elements of the 2.0 that I like, and it
Yeah.
took the
Atta
parts I
baby.
didn't and threw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just like the 5.0, it's like that
Yeah.
1.75 is everything. I love it. So, and for whitetail, I think I did a mixed quiver half and half of
Okay.
2.0s
Yeah, yeah.
and 1.75s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those Sevr. I mean, that's the thing. You had an Easton arrow, a Sevr Broadhead,
Yeah. And
veins of your choice, and
the fact you can screw the blade shut and practice with the head you're gonna be using, like,
yeah,
come on. Amazing.
and those things fly. I swapped. What hunt was that? I swapped out of my mock 30. I swapped the cam, the EC2, and I ran an E2. And I didn't tune that bow
Mm,
after I did the swap. Before I tuned it, I tried the 2.0s at distance practice. It was
fine.
like, "Oh, this is gonna make me lazy." Yeah, I was like, this is craziness."
Wow.
I mean, you're
That's
talking
awesome.
80, 90, 100 with a not a field point, but grouping alongside your field points. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Get out of here."
They're amazing.
Good products, man.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It's wicked. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw the picture you posted of your mule deer, and I was like, that might be one of the most beautiful mule deer I've ever seen. Just the way that his like
He's
antlers,
different.
it just
He's
looks
not
so
wide,
good.
he's tall,
No, he's just
he's
like a crown,
cool.
right? Just like
It
boom.
is.
It's awesome.
That's what I was saying,
So
and, you
good.
know, like, my father-in-law is a big mule deer guy, he's a big, like, rifle muzzleloader mule deer guy, and he has 2 that are over 200 from New Mexico, and I see those deer in the mass, and I'm just like, "Oh my god," I sent it to him, and I was like, "Hey, look, it's not a dink listen, it might
It's
be a
not a
dink to
dink.
you."
That's
Yeah,
right.
but listen, and he was totally supportive, he's like, "Uh-uh," he's like, "Spot and stalk with a stick and a string is a different animal, my friend,
Yeah.
like, you know, you're not shooting them at 400 yards, you know?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No."
No,
Even
definitely
though it
not.
feels like it
It
kinda
feels
out
like
there,
it
like
sometimes.
yeah, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Uh, yeah,
That's
man.
wicked. Well, I could probably talk to you all night, but I'll let you get going. You'll have to come back because I want to talk cameras and
Oh
stuff on another
oh,
time.
heck
So,
yeah.
but thanks a lot for coming on, and just let everybody know where they can find you
Yeah.
online.
Instagram and YouTube are the same handle, and it's this one right here. Um, so it's Joe Goubeaux, spelled all crazy. Jeaux, Goubeaux.
There you go.
And, yeah, man.
Cool, man. All right. Have a good night. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.